Yesterday, we got news that our Galactus has been cast. Ralph Ineson has been cast as Galactus in the MCU Fantastic Four movie, and they are not stopping there because we are getting castings galore for this film. Obviously, back on Valentine's Day, we got the big four, the Fantastic Four cast reveal, but then since then we've gotten Julia Garner as Silver Surfer. Paul Walter Hauser joins the cast. Oh, all right. Now Ralph Ineson, and now John Malkovich has joined the cast in an undisclosed role with the Fantastic Four, which is exciting. I mean, John Malkovich, great actor, so cool to see that he's joining the MCU, but who is he joining the cast as? Everybody points to, okay, it's probably going to be a villain. You know, he's a good villain actor for sure. And I think the most obvious option, and the one that I like the most, is the Puppet Master. Puppet Master is one of the most OG Fantastic Four villains. He was the first villain in the Fantastic Four animated series. He's a little bit of a weird villain, a little bit of a kooky, creepy one. But, I mean, biggest reason people say this is just because Puppet Master is bald and John Malkovich is also bald. So, that's possible, and I think that would be really cool. Another possibility is possibly the Red Ghost, because that's another one that fans have wanted to see in live action for a long time, so that would be cool. Red Ghost and his super apes. But then the question, of course, comes up, then, okay, say John Malkovich is playing one of these characters. That would be John Malkovich's villain, possibly Paul Walter Hauser's Mole Man, which is rumored, on top of Silver Surfer and Galactus and maybe Doctor Doom as well in this movie. And why are there so many villains in this Fantastic Four film? We don't have room for that. We don't have time for that. But it was reported by Grace Randolph from Beyond the Trailer. Yesterday she did a live stream, and when the John Malkovich news came out, she said that she's heard that there will be kind of a flurry of villains in this film. She didn't specify if it would be a montage or if it would just be... She basically just said that there's going to be a lot of villains with small appearances in this film, which is something that really excites me because Fantastic Four has a very rich rogues gallery of villains that I would love to see in live action, many of which would not work as a main villain for a Fantastic Four film. And especially we've seen that in the past 4 live action Fantastic Four films. The main villain of every single one has been Doctor Doom. And I mean, you had Galactus and Silver Surfer in one, and obviously we're bringing them back, but to bring in characters like Mole Man and Puppet Master and some of these other villains is really cool, even if it's just for a montage or just for small appearances, especially since this is taking place in an alternate universe that is in the 60s, that is a kind of Jetsons retro futuristic style to it. Some of these more goofy villains work as one-off, like one-scene battles with the Fantastic Four. That's something I think is really cool, and this is something I've wanted to see from a superhero movie for the longest time. It was supposed to happen in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4. That movie was supposed to begin with a montage of Spider-Man taking down a bunch of villains, including the Shocker and Bruce Campbell's Mysterio, and so I would love to see this, to open, especially since this is not an origin film, to open up this movie with the Fantastic Four fighting Mole Man, and then fighting another villain, and then fighting another villain, just establishing them as people who go out and do these daily missions. That's something I would have loved to have seen more with the Avengers. That was something I really liked. We got a hint of at the beginning of Avengers Age of Ultron, is them going and taking down the Hydra base. I would love to see these characters just go on some of those smaller missions that aren't like big movie long storyline villains, but still getting to see those villains on screen. I think that would be really cool. I hope we get something like that with Spider-Man in the MCU at some point as well. But then the question is, okay, what other villains are we going to see? It would be so awesome if we saw a cameo from Tenoch Huerta as Namor the Submariner. But this is one that maybe they want to save for a bigger storyline down the road, possibly in a Fantastic Four 2 or whatever it may be. But that's a possibility because Namor has a big history with the Fantastic Four. Speaking of MCU cameos, we could get a Super Skrull in here. Obviously, the OG Super Skrull in Marvel Comics was the Fantastic Four Super Skrull. So to get that, even if it was just a quick little battle scene, quick little reference, they honestly don't even have to have an actor for it because it can just be a CGI Skrull. I mean, maybe they could bring back Kingsley Benadir as Gravik. That could be cool. And in this universe, he's just a Fantastic Four Super Skrull. That would be interesting. Little Secret Invasion cameo. The one reference to that show that we would actually like to see. So that would be cool. But above all, I would love to see an Impossible Man cameo, because this is one that Impossible Man could totally be a main villain, movie villain, but he won't be, just because of how goofy and ridiculous he is. And there's not really a real way to make him a serious villain. It's kind of sad, because I know that over at DC, we have a very similar character in Batmite and Mr. Mixie-Pitalik. And those are characters that are very similar, but those will work in DC because you have James Gunn over there. Marvel, I think, wouldn't do something this silly. But then again, I don't know. They just did MODOK, and that was pretty silly, so we'll see. But even if this is just like one, like, blink and you'll miss it cameo, it would be really awesome. That would be really, really cool. Annihilus is another one that would be cool, but I think this is one that I do think could possibly be for a Fantastic Four sequel, because the one thing you want to avoid with this montage, or this flurry of smaller villains, is you don't want to use up all your villains. Like, you still want to save some villains so that when you get to the sequel, you can use a character like Annihilus as the main villain of that, which I think is a very strong possibility. And then Doctor Doom, obviously, it's been a very back and forth on whether or not he's in this film. I believe Victor Von Doom will be in the movie, even if it's just for a post-credit scene or a small appearance. Well, I don't know if he'll actually be Doctor Doom in this film. He's definitely not the main villain. He definitely won't be a big presence in the movie, but I feel like he will have some sort of appearance in Fantastic Four. But people, this is a stacked cast right here so far. We got our main four. Now we got Ralph Ineson as Galactus, Julia Gardner as Silver Surfer, John Malkovich, and Paul Walter Hauser. TBA, probably Mole Man and Puppet Master or Red Ghost. But I'm really excited. Who else do you want to see join this cast? Because this is another big kind of cool thing about this. In some regards, it is like, oh, this is a waste of seeing Paul Walter Hauser and John Malkovich in the MCU, not giving them a bigger role. But then also, would they sign on for something bigger? Because that's another reason they probably signed on for this, is because if it's just a small appearance as this little villain, then they don't have to commit to the full shoot. So what other big stars would you like to see make cameos in this film as some smaller Fantastic Four villains? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on everything goes on in the Marvel life.